going to look at the power of mock-ups and product mock-ups for you as a graphic designer for when you're presenting your concept and also for putting in your portfolio. I've been using these now for a few years, and they have such a massive impact on your client. I've seen when I've presented an idea to a client and I haven't done mock-ups, and then when I come back with that, I may present 3 concepts to them without any mock-ups, and then they choose one of the concepts that they like, and then I create the mock-ups from that concept. The difference in their reaction to the work is huge. Just to be able to see what you've created actually on the thing that is going to be printed and looking as professional as it can do is massive and has a massive impact on winning the job. So I'm going to just work through this. This at the moment was a logo branding concept that I did for a new brewery that's opening up here in Esperance. And this was all of this is from the actual concept presentation that I gave to the client. So that was the logo initially, which yeah, okay, that's the logo. And then I showed them various different how the logo can look in different colours and negative and positive. And then I actually showed them the label for one of the brews that they're going to create. Again, just as it was from the computer screen, and the back of the label. So yeah, it's all good, looks fine. But then I actually created a mock-up from the label, placed it onto the product that it's actually going to be on. Now this involved no photography on my part, no printing on my part, no sticking on my part. This is all by using PSD or Photoshop based templates that you actually place your designs onto, and I'll show you how to do it in a little while. And you can see how easy it actually is. The photo here is in not great quality. The actual final one is a lot better quality. It's just that it's just not translated very well into Collaborate. But and then the back of the label, so you can see again how much more of an impact that has. I then showed what the brand may look like on a T-shirt. Again, no printing was involved, no buying of T-shirts, no screen printing, and again showed it on a possible business card. So you can see then that the client was immediately impressed by seeing that what that could possibly look like on real items, and it certainly had a big impact on his reaction to the brand. There's other ways you can use it, obviously not just for concept development with a client, but when you create a design and then you want to place that into your portfolio. I'm sure if you've had a good look around Behance, you will have seen that most graphic designers not only have the design that they've created as a file, but they also have placed it onto a mock-up. So there are other ways you can do it. Again, this is a DVD that I created for the dance group, local dance group down here in Esperance. And again, I did not do any photography there. That is all done by mock-up, PSD mock-ups. A flyer, again, no printing involved in that. So that was just a flyer that I created for our local school, and it was just again a mock-up. Posters. So I've done a few freebies for local. I tend to do a lot of freebies at the moment. But I enjoy doing it for local. Well, I'm a member of the cycling club, and that was for a fundraiser for the local school. So I enjoy doing it. But to be able to show that in your portfolio, there's no way normally I would have taken a photograph of these posters, I probably wouldn't have even bothered putting them into my portfolio. But when you create a mock-up like this, it sort of lifts it, and you sort of think, well, actually, yeah, that can go in my portfolio. This was just the agricultural department wanted, they'd done this fun, well, it was going to be an app, and they just wanted to promote what their app was going to look like for farmers. So again, all I really created was the tractor and the text there on the background, but just putting it out there onto a variety of products can instantly, again, make your design look better. Okay, so where can you find the mock-up files to actually work with to start with? So it does require a little bit of trawling around the internet to find them. Some of them you'll think, oh yeah, here's one, awesome, and then you click on it and you find that it just, some of these things will take you to some fake advertising or something that you actually end up having to pay for. To be honest, a lot of the mock-ups, PSCs that I have got, I have paid for, but they're very cheap. They're about $5 to $6 per zipped folder. And within a zip folder, you may get 6 or 7 versions of a mock-up. So for me, I think it's worth it. I have an ABN and I'm registered as a graphic designer, so I can use it as a tax deduction. Not that I make much money as an actual graphic designer, but I can certainly use it against my teaching work as well. So, I can use that, but for you guys, $6, it's not that bad. It's probably worth spending the money on. The ones that I've had that are free, some of them have been really good and others not so good. So you do need to sort of have a good look round. So here are a few sites. You might just want to, I haven't got the URLs for these, but you might just want to write down the names, and I'm sure if you Google, you'll better find the URLs pretty easy. This one's pretty good. Some of them are free, but you will find that most of them that are really good, actually, you pay for. So, it does depend on what you're looking for and what you can find. This one, Freebies Bog. I've had some good ones from here. The other day I downloaded this one, which was a Galaxy one, and it was okay. It wasn't bad. And I've also had a MacBook one from them, and again, not bad. It was pretty good. So you can find them if you look. This one, they're okay. They're particularly good, I think, for things like real products. So they've got a lot of sort of bathroom type products, soaps and bottles and things like that you can use. So that's pretty good. Gemma, did you have a question? That's okay. You just had your mic on. I thought you might have had a question. Okay. Behance if you find there's free PSC mock-up download. There's a few on there. So again, they're not bad, and some of them are better than others. So you can search within Behance. This one is the one I actually use the most. It's through Envato Market, and it's Graphic River. So if you actually search Graphic River, you get there. You just need to sign up with an account, and you can see that some of them are $4, $8. So they range from sort of $3 to about $10, $11. When you start paying up towards $8, $9, $10, you do tend to get a lot in your file, so you get a lot of versions of them, which can be pretty good. And I think like some of them you'll see an awful lot. So like the one that I've used a bit with my posters, which is that brick background. You do see that one around a lot. That was a free one. So I suppose to try and be a little bit different, sometimes it is good to perhaps go and find ones that are a little bit, you know, they may cost you a bit more, but they are a bit different compared to what other people have got in their portfolio. Okay, so how do you actually go about creating the mock-up from your existing work? Basically, what you need to do is you've got to work with either JPEG or PNG. Really, those two are the best formats to be working in. And because you're going to create them in Photoshop. So when you create them in Photoshop, you need obviously a bitmap. Now, if your native file is in InDesign or if it's in Illustrator, then it's not going to be a bitmap. So you need to export it out of there and turn it into a JPEG or a PNG, and then you are going to open that up in Photoshop as well as your mock-up. So I'll go through the process now. I'm going to go into Application Share, and yeah, hopefully this works. What we might have to do, we've got the capability of 2 people talking at the same time, Steve. So if someone has got a question, rather than typing it, because I don't think Steve will be able to read it, maybe just grab the mic and start talking, and then I'll come off talk. So that's probably going to be the easiest thing to do, I think, Steve.
Yeah, and don't forget, well, the easiest way is probably to raise your hand. That way we'll be able to see, because then you'll jump to the top of the room and we'll know who's asking the question and we can give you the mic.
Yeah, cool. Good idea. All right, I shall go into Application Share, and hopefully this will all work like clockwork.
So far so good. Yeah, except we've got your like a Collaborate toolbar right across the middle of it. There you go. Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go firstly into Illustrator, and the first thing I'm going to do is turn this vector, so you can see it's a vector. So for the benefit of new students, the vector file is made out of anchor points and filled with a color. So although that background there kind of looks like a photo, it's actually just filled with gradients of color and is split into shapes pretty much. So this will not open up as it is in Photoshop. It has to be turned into pixels, into a bitmap image, because it's not a bitmap at the moment. And as you get further into the course, you'll see why you would use one over the other. But basically, this image here can be reproduced at any size and will never lose quality. Whereas if I created it as a bitmap image, when I start to increase the size of that image, you really start to see a massive loss of quality. So that's your basic difference between a bitmap image and a vector. So to export this, for the benefit of those that are not sure how to do that, I go down to File, and then I go Export, and then it's asking me what do I want to turn it into and where do I want to put it. So here at the bottom you can see that you've got various different options. I could turn it into a JPEG, which is a bitmap, or a PNG, which is a bitmap. I could also use TIFF, but to be honest, I'm going to stick with either a PNG or a JPEG. So I'll go JPEG. I've actually got one already that I've done, so I'll just leave that one in there, but you would just basically go, well actually I'll overwrite it. So I'll go Export, going, are you sure you want to replace the one that's already there? Yes, I do. And then it asks me here some questions that I need to answer. So what color model? So for Gemma or Tegan or Tim possibly, what color model will I be using if I'm going to be putting this just on the web? Putting you on the spot there, guys. Do I want to be in CMYK or do I want to be in RGB? Go on, Tegan.
RGB.
Yay, well done, RGB, excellent. So yeah, so to be putting this on the web, which is what I'm going to do, I'm not printing this, I'm going to go into RGB. I'm going to go larger file because I'd like to keep it good quality. I'm going to leave it for now at high resolution. I'm going to leave the compression as standard, and I'm going to leave the type optimized. So really, it's the color model is the most important thing there, because if you leave it as CMYK, you may find that your colors don't come out quite as you wanted them when you actually turn this into a bitmap. And then I just go OK, and that has saved that now as a bitmap or a JPEG in my file. So I'm ready to go now with my label on in my mock-up. So I go into Photoshop and I open up the brown bottle a4.psd mock-up file that I've already downloaded off the internet. So I went to Graphic River, I searched for beer bottle, I found the mock-up, and I just clicked download, and then it downloads onto wherever you want to save that. I didn't go through that because I figured that you guys probably are all pretty aware now of how to download things off the internet. That's kind of not rocket science, and I think you're all aware on how to do that. What happens is it comes as a zip folder, so you do need to extract that zip folder and place it somewhere that you know where it is. I've got a folder just called mockups, and it's full of all different ones. And then inside that zip folder, you'll see 4 or 5 or 6, however many you got with your file, of different versions of, well, for this one was beer bottle. So for this one, I had a clear beer bottle, a green beer bottle, and a brown beer bottle to work with. That's fine. So I can. So I opened up the PSD. And then this is where it gets a little bit scary, because you start to look over here in the layers panel, and you can see that, wow, that's an awful lot of stuff happening in there, and gosh, what do I do with this? Well, really, it's a simple case of actually just reading. If I drag that out a little bit, you can see reading what each of these things does without panicking too much and without changing anything. So don't start switching anything on and off or what have you. Just start looking through these layers and you can see. So here it says, here you can change the emboss, and the emboss is obviously that bit there. And this one, here you can change the label. Okay, so that's what I need to do. Now this is the only bit that I think people get a bit confused about. Well, how do I do this? So what you do is you just double click inside that little window. So don't actually double click on the layer itself or try to do anything with that layer. All you do is you double click on that inside. It's actually in there as a smart object. And inside that window, you need to be inside with your mouse, and you double click on it. And what happens is the label that is on that brown beer bottle, there you can see it, opens up. And so all you have to do now is actually place your file on top of this file and save it. So what I need to do now is open up my JPEG that I had saved, exported out of Illustrator. So I'll go File, Open, and go back here, beer bottle, label. There it is, LLB, label A1, that was the one. I open it. There it is. It's got a bit of a white edge around. That's just the way it's been extracted from the artboard. That's not a big deal. So what I need to do is, if I can see everything side by side, And I have got a few other things open here which could start getting confusing for you, but I just want to be able to see that file and that file side by side. So to do that, I just go to Window and then down to Arrange, and I'll just go 3 up vertical, and there we are. I don't really need to worry about that one. That's another one I'm going to be doing for later, but these two I need to see. So I go to my arrow tool, which is the top in my toolbox, and I click inside my label that I'm going to move, and I drag it over onto the top of that one. And then I can actually close that down now, so I've just got less files open, otherwise it can get a bit confusing. So I'll close that one down, and then I'll go back to Window, Arrange, Consolidate All to Tabs, and I can see now that I'm working with this one. So all I've got to do now is resize this. Now remember, using a corner pole transform box, pressing Shift keeps things in proportion. So I just keep changing the size of it to fit. Remembering I've got that little bit of extra stuff around the outside, so I'm just going to get it to fit. Just using my nudge tool here to nudge it around a bit so it fits. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So remember, you need to tick it, that's what you want to do. Now this is the important bit. You need to actually save that, otherwise it won't work for you. And you don't have to worry about anything that's going on here. You could, if you wanted to, actually get rid of the 2 layers that they give you. They're just example layers. So that's all that is there, is just a couple of examples of what that could look like. But you know, you're not going to use those. You've just placed yours on top. It really doesn't matter. You can leave them there. But the most important thing, if I go back to my brown bottle, at the moment you see nothing's happened. But if I go back to, let me find it, there it is, rectangle, I need to actually save it. So I go File, Save, and then I go to my brown bottle, and there it is, as if by magic. Now, the other things that you can usually adapt with these things is the background color. So I'm not happy with that background color. I don't think it works at all. So again, I'll go and have a look at my layers, and I can see, yep, change the background color. Okay, so that's the layer I have to use to change the background color. How do I do that? Well, that's an adjustment layer that's in there for you. So to change an adjustment layer, all you have to do is double click on the little icon that's on the left, and that shows that it's hue saturation. So if I start to play around with the hue here, I can see that I can bring it to a color that I think works a little bit better with my bottle. And I can probably lighten it up a bit because I'm not that happy with how dark that is. And you can play with that. The other thing you can do is change the actual color of the lid. So unfortunately with this particular template they didn't write what that is, so you'd have to just have a good look at this mock-up and go, okay, what is going on there? And what you can see is they've masked everything out apart from the little tiny bit here, which actually is the lid. So if I double click on that, I can see that what's going to happen is that lid's going to change colour, and it does, and I can make it a blue, which I think fits my bottle better than the one that was already there. And the other thing that they offer you here is an emboss. Now that's pretty cool, and that works a little bit differently with it being an emboss. And I'm just going to show you this because there are business cards and things that have embossing or that look like they're die cut and things. So it's slightly different to how you have to do it. With this one, you really need it to be PNG because you need to support transparency. So with that one there, I could turn it into a JPEG and it was just a flat file. For anything that's an embossing, if I double click on this, you'll see, you can see there that all that checker in the background shows me that that's actually sorry, it's a transparent, it's on transparent background. It's not on a white background, so you imagine it's like printed on a piece of cellophane. It's see-through. So what I need to do is make sure that when I put my own logo on there that I want to have as an emboss on my beer bottle, because I think that'd look pretty cool, I need to make sure that I actually save it as a PNG from my Illustrator file, because that will support the transparency. So I'll go back into Illustrator and I'll go and find my logo, and there it is. Now, even though that looks like it's on a white background, it actually, the only living part of this design, if we want to call it that, is the bit that's actually inside those anchor points. So you can see the bits that are sort of being blue as I scroll over. That's all filled with a color. It could be on any background, but at the moment it's not on any background at all. Even though it's showing white, it's actually, if I save this as a PNG, it will save it with a transparent background because I've not got any background going on behind there. So to do this, a bit different, you can go File, and then I usually go Save for Web with this rather than Export. So I go File, Save for Web, and then you get to actually see a preview of it, which is pretty good. And I want to say this is a PNG 24, which is exactly what I want. And that's all cool. Everything else I'm just going to leave as is. And I'm going to go Save. It's going to go, where do I want to save it? So I'm going to put it in my beer bottle. And I'm going to call it, not the same as that, I'll just call it Logo Trim, and then make sure, yep, all good, so we say Save. Okay, so that's saved that, and it saved it with the transparency. So I can now go back into Photoshop, and I can open up my Logo Trim. And again, I want to see that one there and that one there side by side. So I will go Window, Arrange, just go 3 up, see what we get. Yep. So all I'm going to do now is do exactly the same, pick up my black arrow tool and then just drag that one across into there. I'm going to close Logo Trim down because I don't want to be confused, and I'm going to go into Consolidate All Files. Okay, so I'll just move that one into the middle. Now, this one, I do want to actually switch this one off completely, but what it says here is copy this layer style and then hide it. Okay, so to copy the layer style that's going on there, this is this effects thing that you can see happening down here. So I can go right-click into that layer, and I can go Copy Layer Style. And then I go on to my layer one, which has got my design on it, and I go right-click inside, not inside the picture, but just inside where it says Layer 1, and I go Paste Layer Style. And I'm going to switch that one off because I don't need to see it, and I'm going to switch that one off. I'm just going to resize this a little bit so it actually fits inside the file, the artboard. I'm going to say yes. Now again, important bit, don't forget this bit, you need to go File and Save. If I don't do that, I'll show you. So I don't save at the moment, my brown bottle, and I'll just zoom in on it a little bit, has got that. And that's not the one I want. So I'm going to go back. Where's my rectangle? Not that one. There we go. I'm going to go File, and then I'm going to go Save. And then I'm going to go back to my brown bottle, and you can see now that my brown bottle's got a pretty cool emboss on there of the kangaroo logo, which again may never happen on the real bottles that this brewery go with, but it gives your client an idea of something that possibly could happen, and it also lifts your design. It's just a nice little detail that really adds that bit of wow to your design. If this one was mine, I would probably crop it as well. because I think there's a little bit too much background going on, so I'll probably crop it down. So what you would do from here on in, so let's just, sorry, I'll just take it so I can see the whole thing. I'll pick up my crop tool, crop it down a little bit. So I don't think we need quite that much space around that bottle. It's better. Just make it a bit more central. Say yes, and then you can file, save as, and actually what you can do here is flatten it all down. So you go there, flatten image, and then go file, save as, and save it as a different name, because what's going to happen is you don't want to save it over the top of your lovely template that you may want to, your mock-up PSD that you've paid for, that you want to go and use again. So you go file, save as, and you might call this just final concept, whatever, concept. And you can save that as a TIFF if you wanted, or as a JPEG. That's entirely up to you, however you're going to use it. Probably if you're going to be sharing it with a client, it's probably a little bit more friendlier for them to be looking at JPEGs. So I'll save it as a JPEG. And it will ask me, do I want it to be a large file? Yes, I do, because I want this to be nice and good quality for them, so they can actually really have a good look at that. And you can see how good a quality that is. I know it didn't look that great on in Collaborate, but I would be pretty happy with that. And when they're looking at that on in a PowerPoint or whatever, I think they'd be quite happy to see that. Okay, so that's a beer bottle. I was going to do a couple more just to run through that process again, just so that you get the idea of it. So I'll just close down the files that I don't need anymore. CDs. CDs can look pretty cool, and I know we've got Tegan and Gemma that have just finished visual design assessment, and part of that assessment is actually to create mock-ups. Now, they did it the hard way. They printed them off and photographed them and what have you, and that can look really good, but it's a harder process than doing this, that's for certain. So you can, all of these came in the same file. I bought this one the other day. It was $4 from Graphic River, and there was about 8 different versions of the same thing, so different varieties of CDs and what have you. So I'll do this one first, and then I'll quickly do that one. Won't take me long, just to show you how you actually can do the CD. Even if you haven't created a label, you can actually mock up a label in this environment, and yeah, they look pretty good. So again, I've downloaded the PSD. It was zipped up. I've unzipped it, and then I've opened up the PSD into Photoshop. I've also, with the CD cover that you created for the visual design assessment, that one was done in InDesign. And it's done on a template, so you're actually seeing all sides of the CD. So the idea is that you would fold it to make a digipack. What you can do with that is you can extract the whole thing as a JPEG if you wish. The other quicker way of doing it, and it depends on where your final output of these things are going to be, but if it's going to be in an online portfolio, then you can actually get away with doing a screen clip of each part, and that's what I did for this one. All I did was I used the snipping tool on your PC, and actually snipped the bit of design that I needed once I'd opened up the file in InDesign. So that's another way of actually creating a bitmap from part of your design. So there's either way of doing that, and that's pretty easy to do. If you guys haven't seen the snipping tool, so you would just go down into your Start menu and then go to the snipping tool, and it literally just allows you to click and drag a box around what you want, and then you can save that as a PNG. on your Mac, it's Command-Shift-4, and that does exactly the same. So I would just go to here. We've got slightly different setups, so they're all a little bit different the way they've been set up. So you do need to just have a look what's going on here. But you can see top CD case and bottom CD case. They've been a little bit neat here, and they've put them in folders, which is great. So to expand that folder, you just want to click on the little arrow, and you actually get to see what's inside that folder. And you can see here it says cover, edit me. That's the one I need to edit. Remember, I don't double click on the words or out here. I need to actually double click inside that window there. That's the important bit. That's the bit that gets people a bit confused, I think. So double click inside the window, and then I just get this square, and that's where I need to put my cover. So I'm going to open up my cover. So I've got File, Open. Just go to the right one. Front. This was the front. Open. So I'm using Sarah's from last year. This is Sarah Fitzgerald's. And I go Window so I can see them. Go 2 up. There we go. Use the arrow tool. Click inside my picture. Drag it over onto that one. Close front down. Go back to Consolidate to all tabs. This one's a little bit smaller, so that's okay. I'm just going to press from Shift, pull it down, say yes. All important bit, File, Save, and then go back to your CD mockup, and there it is, looking pretty good. So same for the background. For the back one, bottom CD, double click, File, Open, Back, Open, Window, Range, 2 up, arrow tool, drag it across, close back down, consolidate all tabs, it fits, yes, File, Save, go and have a look, and there we go. And the same thing if you wanted to just change the background. This one here, you haven't actually got a color option for the background because it's in grayscale. You could actually put your own background on there if you wanted to, or you could darken it off just by using the adjustments, so image adjustments. You could go to your levels and you could darken it if you wanted, or lighten it, whichever you think looks better if you're not happy with what they've given you there. So yeah, so that's that one. I'm going to close that one down. I won't save that. And I'm going to close shape and shape. Okay, so for this one I'm just going to show you the disc. I won't worry about the actual case because I think you get the idea. But the disc is the same thing, so you just need to expand that where you find what you want to do and expand it. And then we just double click. And what you can see is actually it's still square. So if you've just, I'll just open up the front again. And just arrange it, 2 up. So just drag that in there, close front. So you might have to play with it, depends what you've kind of got. But if I sort of start to make this, make it a bit bigger and just work with that, and then go File, Save, and then go and have a look. You can see that you can actually place your image on there even though you may not have made a label, you could actually use a bit from the front cover and just crop it out onto and make it so it shows as a label. So that can actually look pretty good too. So that's another thing you can add that just again just adds that wow factor to your work. Again, I'm going to close that one down without saving it. Final one, business cards. This is probably one of the ones you'll use the most. And all you may have done is you may not have created a business card at all for your client. You may have just have created a logo. So let's say, for instance, that I created this. So created that for your client. And that's all they wanted. They didn't want business cards made or anything, but you want to show this in your portfolio as to how awesome this could look if it was on a business card. So find a nice business card mock-up. Again, this one was from Graphic River, I think. Pretty certain I got this one. And then you just find the one where you want to insert your design. So you can see here, it's pretty good. You've actually got different options with this one. This is why I brought this one in. So we can have a real good play with this particular mock-up. There's all sorts of awesome things that can happen with this one. But you can see the two ones that you need to be working with are here and here. So the first one, I'll just double click on there, insert design, go arrange, go 3 up, click on, use my arrow tool, click on the design, drag it over there, and then just go. Okay, so I need to resize that one, it's a bit big, so that's okay. Again, pressing shift from a corner keeps your proportions. So just get it to fit nicely somewhere inside that file for you, inside that artboard. Once you're happy, press tick. Let's just go that way a little bit, getting pedantic. And then we go File, Save, and then you go back and have a look. Okay, so that's looking quite nice. Now the second one is obviously going to show it there. So that's good. So that's the second one is Insert Design 2. Same thing. I've already got it open, so I can, let's tile all vertically. So where is it? There it is, logo. Drag it right over there. I can close that one down now. I don't need to worry about that anymore. Again, I need it to fit. So using shift at the corner point. Still a bit big. There we go. It's probably a little bit big as well. I'll do that, but it's probably a bit bigger than the other one, but that's okay for now. We'll go File, Save. Go and have a look. Okay, so that's looking quite nice. Happy with that. You can change the background color, but the other things you've got is you've got these silver effect and gold effect that you can actually put onto your card. So if we have a look at silver effect, you can put a design in there that would actually give you a silver effect along the design. You can do a gold effect. So again, just wherever it says insert here is where you need to insert your card, and then it would put like a silvery sort of effect along the edge. So some of these have got some pretty awesome things to have a play with, and I would certainly, spend a bit of time seeing which one works best with your design. But yeah, some of them allow you to put like a silver edge or a gold edge. Some of them allow you to do an embossing. You can see that this one actually has got quite a nice papery effect. So that's the paper 2 there that's on. And so really the best way to get to grips with these is just to have a play by switching things on and off to see what's affecting what and how it actually works as a combined mock-up. I hope you can see how really, really easy that is, and what a fabulous, fabulous effect you get from it. From something that really, looked a bit dull, just that organic bouquet just looked pretty dull just in a file, but suddenly putting it into something like this just lifts it up that little bit. So yeah, have a play, go and find lots of mock-ups, have fun with that one.